What up, nation? Welcome to another edition of the Wise Take MLB DFS Wise stream. CK013 here. You can find me on Twitter at CK_013. And I'm joined once again by the GOAT, the true OG, that the Wise Take Truthful know. It's Paulie D. You can find him on Twitter at Paulie with 8 Ds. Paulie, what's happening?
What's happening, man? Back to baseball, huh?
Yeah, that's one of the benefits to writing the baseball article is that I have no choice but to be somewhat involved in it. Like Sunday was the only day we have projections, we have cheat sheets. I'm not going to do the articles on Sunday mornings for baseball because the contests are bad, and obviously we have to focus on football. But at least like even by doing the projections and cheat sheets and keeping an eye on it, I'm still like familiar with what's been going on. But yeah, man, we're at that point in the season now where we're at the very end. I mean, we're talking about 2 more weeks. You blink.
Yeah, we're at that point for sure.
You blink and the team is totally different. Like, you know, like literally. Like you blink and you look at a lineup and you don't even know what team that is. You're like, what the fuck? But here we are. Football's here, so I think that, you know, whenever football's here, you always have that appreciation for baseball or basketball, whatever everyday sport you have, because football you have to wait like a full fucking week to get at it again. And so you're just like, all right, well, I got something to hold me over. So shout out to baseball for giving us something to do when we're bored. Right? It's like, isn't that what baseball is really there for? It's like in the summer, now, not this year, right? Because we had the COVID, everybody got locked inside. But normally you have summer. People got shit to do in the summer, right? They go vacation, they go away, and if you don't have anything to do, at least you have baseball. That's just like, you know what I'm saying? Like, can you imagine how shitty summers would be if for like people like weekends and shit like that? If football, I mean, it would be good for people. But if the NFL was over the summer, like businesses and like resorts and all that, they'd be pissed. You know what I mean? They would be pissed. But it's baseball. Not really a competition. I'm going to go on vacation to a luxury resort, or I'm going to stay home so I can watch baseball. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? If it was, but you know, obviously DFL, and listen, I'm clowning on baseball. Baseball's been very good to us this year. It's been very fucking good to us this year.
You know, yeah. I better watch.
I know, right? I feel dirty. Feel dirty saying it, but dirty is just what we do, though.
Personally, yeah.
Oh man.
Very.
So real quick before we get into the slate, bro. Unbelievable day today. So I'm trying to close the pool. You know, first time I'm trying to do it myself, like man style. You know, close the pool. So.
Oh yeah, I've covered pools. That ain't easy. It's work.
It's work. It's more like it was my first time doing it. So you're like, okay, how do I stop the water from coming out of this thing? Like, okay, how do I stop that? You know. So as I'm.
Oh, you got it.
Yeah. I got the above, which are way easier to be clear. But as I'm closing the bitch, you know, wife's outside. Patches is outside. Patches starts like spazzing, bro. Like spazzing, like all this shit. He's swatting at his mouth. Don't know what the fuck is going on. You know, is he choking or what? This is going on for like minutes, and we're going to his mouth. All this shit. I'm panicking. So wife and I grab him, throw him in a car, take him down to the vet, which is luckily shout out to the Freehold Animal Hospital, only like just down the street. Go in there. Doctor opens up his mouth, and 2 seconds, bloop, pulls out a little twig. It wasn't in his throat. It was in the roof of his mouth. It was stuck between his teeth. So I felt very stupid. Very stupid. Bro, I had my fingers down his throat multiple times thinking that he's choking on something. And like, you know, you looked, but every time I would look, it was behind my hand. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, how much that cost you?
Complimentary. He did it right in front of me, bro. I'm in a panic. I got a mask on. My hat's falling everywhere. My hair is falling everywhere. I'm fucking pounding on the door because it's COVID. You can't just walk in. So they open up the door and I'm like, hey, man, you don't know what the hell's going on. He's like, I mean, he was, and then about 2 seconds, whoop, whoop. And then so shout out to him, shout out to them, for hooking it up. They are my bad. He is a patient of theirs, so it's not like, you know, but fuck, it's a wild day. And then I had to go research baseball after that, so you know, nothing will bring you down to earth. Nothing will take the energy out of you like researching a bunch of baseball, 12 games. With that said, we'll go ahead and get into this baseball slate. We'll start with the pitching. Paulie, we have a few different options up top, but we have some risky conditions and one of the more premier games for pitching. Talk to me about who you're rolling with at pitcher spend ups.
Oh man, Jumping Jack Flaherty against the Milwaukee Brewers. What's up with his They ain't letting him pitch very deep, huh? He does be getting strikeouts. They do be striking
He got
out.
kind of caught up. Remember that COVID mess? He got caught up with the Cardinals got suspended. So, like, it's been taking him a while to get caught up, like, pitch count-wise.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I think he just threw 90 pitches for, like, the first time recently, I think.
And it just only went 5 innings.
Yeah.
All right. Let me see. I gotta tell you, I don't really like anything up top. I mean, I think it'd probably be contrarian to grab. No, it looks like he's gonna be popular. I'm never paying 9.6 for Zach Davies, especially not against the fucking Warriors. Yeah, I don't really like any of these guys above, say, 9K.
It's funny because I actually like all the guys. Oh, well, not all the guys. No. Let me be clear. I completely ignore. When I see Zach Davies at that price, it's like an auto ignore. You know, I don't care who he's. I'll lose that day gladly with a smile on my face because I didn't play Zach Davies. That's okay. Yep. But Flaherty, Carrasco, Darvish. I do like them. Darvish obviously has the highest ownership. We've got winds blowing out at Wrigley, 5 to 10 miles an hour. So that's some concern. Cleveland doesn't strike out a ton, so I think Darvish is the best actual pitcher this year. He's got Cy Young quality numbers this year, but his opponent, not that the Indians have been great, WRC plus ISO well, but not great. But they don't strike out a ton. They're known for that. They are 13th this year against righties, which for them is high. But obviously you have risk. You got Lindor, you got J-Ram. So I feel the most comfortable with Darvish, but I'm worried about the ownership. Carrasco has not been the same Carrasco. He's still getting strikeouts, but he's obviously more prone to power, and he always has been to a degree. It's just happening more often. Now he's in Wrigley. That's a little concerning, right? The Cubs have a very good ISO, very good WOBA, but the Cubs are also third in strikeouts to righties this year. And then you get Flaherty, who has been, the pitch count. I think I'm glad to see he finally threw somewhere in the 90s, and now he's playing Milwaukee, who's I think second in the league in strikeouts to righties. So I do like those three guys. I'm going to shuffle them up. Carrasco is the lowest stone, I believe. Flaherty, I think. I feel comfortable with the ceiling, but not with the floor. Darvish, I like the floor. So basically, Darvish is the floor. Carrasco is just wild, just craziness, and then I think Flaherty is somewhere in the middle. But the reason initially I was looking for reasons to get around them, but I really don't like the pitching the rest of the way, and that's really what kind of forced me back onto these guys. So with that said, Paulie, talk to me about some mid-tier action. Pulling out the dough, make it rain right quick, Paulie. Show the nation how you make it rain right quick, man. You know what I mean? You just holla. There we go. Look at that. Look at rain. Look at that. Look at that. See some. I see. Oh shit.
You got cash these days.
That's
baby.
not no Photoshop
it's
flex
nice.
either. You see how the Photoshop stuff? That's funny.
Yeah, I mean it's only like 2 G's, but I'll take.
It's only like 2 G's, and it's not mine, but I'm just playing.
No, it is mine. It is mine. But
charge, son.
He
plays. Paulie D plays DraftKings via cash, son. You know what I'm saying? He gives it to his guy. You know what I mean? He just gives it to his guy. You know what I mean?
Like, look, give me 3 entries into the monster, and max into the donkey with the rest. Let me know when they're in.
All right, talk to me about some mid-tier action.
So I feel you on like the rest of the slate. It's like, ugh, you don't want to go up there, then what the fuck you gonna do? But 2 things, like I gotta play some Rockies against Manaea at home. You know, I mean, Arenado, Story against this guy, they gotta get to him. So I'm gonna need money, right? And I mean, I guess I'm just gonna tell you that I like 2 pitchers on the whole slate, and they're both cheap. And that's it. That's all I got.
Okay.
No, but all right. I'll say, I would consider Tony Gonsolin. I know you're not gonna like that, picking on the Padres and all that, but I think he can get you like a 20. You know what I mean, for whatever he is, 8.7. I don't see anything else that even remotely interests me, though, until I get to cheap. And the other offenses I kind of like today are kind of pricey as well. You know what I'm saying? So I guess Carlos Carrasco I'm going to come around on a little bit more. Like when he's on, he's missing bats. And I guess you could say the same thing for you, but I just don't see myself getting up to 11.3. And I see why you like them because, man, they could really separate from the field. What do you think about Matt Boyd? My first instinct was let me attack him. Royals got all these power righties, but 8K, I can kind of understand why the field's going to like him. I feel like he gives up minimum of 2 home runs a start, though. I know he's had like 1 or 2 good ones recently. Is that even true? Or he got -10 last start, 2 good. You know what I'm saying? Two home runs, 2 home runs, 1 home run, 3 home runs, 2 home runs, 2 home runs. Like, the Royals are relatively cheap, especially as you go after the first 3 main names. That could kind of help me get some Rockies and maybe get Carrasco, but I can stomach Gonsolin. I think if I had the money, sure, I can go with one of you or Carrasco. I think Matt Boyd, it could go either way. Like, you pitch him, hope that he's on today. He could strike out a ton of guys and maybe even make up for the 2 home runs he gives up. But the only guys I'm really interested in is Urquidy and DV Garcia for the Yankees. That's it. I want to go down there. I want to put Arenado and Story in my lineup. Some Yankees that just got back from injury. And whatever offenses you like. I also like the Twins and the White Sox offense.
Yeah, I think going to the mid-tier, I agree with you. It's kind of weak. The guys I'm looking at in my player pool are Matt Boyd, who don't get me wrong, I'm not far off from a Royal stack either. And then what's the other guy for the White Sox? Dooning, who I don't like picking on the Twins. Don't get me right, I really don't. They looked like shit yesterday. I had a parlay, Titans money line, Steelers, and then the fucking Twins, who I thought could pull it out. And I watched Nelson Cruz strand about 12 runners on base yesterday.
Yeah,
oh, my
man.
God. Just wanted to, I don't even know. I don't want to say something offensive to OBJ, but I wanted to defecate. You know what I'm saying?
Have someone.
You know what I mean? But anyway. So I'm okay with him. For like you said, if the studs bust, that's the only way these guys compete, right? Like Matt Boyd, the only way they're good enough today, with even at a best case scenario of a 20, is if Darvish and those guys bust, because those guys have the potential to go for 30 or higher. So I would settle for those 2 in those teams where I want to spend up. Here's the thing, though, Paulie. If we look at the pricing is pretty soft. Now, Story and Arenado are expensive, but even if you're going to complete the rest of that Rocky stack, you're looking at guys that it's not too bad. I mean, you've got Kevin Pillar is 4-1. You got Fuentes at 3-4. Hampson is 3-7 against the lefty. So like Blackman, Story, and Arenado are really the only ones that are going to really cost you in that stack. And the A's, they even have like Jake Lamb today at 2,500. Now, if you're playing Jake Lamb, you're not playing Matt Olson. You only got 1 first baseman. But there's some interesting ways you can go. And it's not just them. You have like other cheap stacks that you could work in with them. We'll talk about some offenses. I like the D-backs today. We'll talk about them. All cheap. You may not have only heard of half of them, but they're all cheap. You know what I mean? And they're playing Julio Teheran. As long as you're left-handed, I don't really give a fuck who you are. You know what I'm saying? Like so I think that's the reason I like the guys up top. Now, as far as the value guys, I agree with you. I would rather just drop down low. And I prefer Garcia over Urquidy only because I seen Urquidy projected with a fairly high ownership projection, and that worried me a little bit for a guy that's only had 2 starts and hasn't looked good in either one. But I checked his velocity. It looks fine, right? And all of his pitch types, nothing looks different. Looks like maybe just a little bit of variance, right? He played some guys that like the Angels who are tough to strike out, and things just didn't go his way. So I'm willing to roster him as well. But the fact that his ownership was trending upwards, it made me nervous because we haven't seen anything to really warrant that. If this was last season, this looks like, yeah, great. This is a no fucking brainer, especially in cash. Like, just take your double-digit points and move on. But I was a little nervous for that reason. And speaking of the Rangers, you look at the Rangers, and we talk about if you did want to get a Carrasco Flaherty or Darvish Carrasco or whatever combination of those guys you want, and then have a little bit of leverage if Urquidy is going to be popular with the Rangers, who I know are god-awful. But this is actually one of the better lineups I've seen them put out. Willie Calhoun is back, and he's 2K on DraftKings, 2K. Joey Gallo's 4-2. Odor is 3-1. Listen, I know this is not last year. I know this is not 2 years ago. I know it's not 3 years ago. The Rangers this year are a whole different team. They're fucking awful. But this is a park boost for them playing in Houston, too. Mind you, not that Houston is some great miraculous park when you don't have cameras everywhere. But it's better than the new park that they have. So I was kind of on the fence. I do like Garcia. I don't really have an argument against him. The line's moving against the Yankees. I really don't understand why. This kid looks awesome. I know he's really young, only like 20-something years old. He looks like a fucking stud. And the Blue Jays, I guess maybe that's what it is. The Blue Jays, like they got Bo Bichette back. Well, that's pretty much it. I don't know why. I really don't know why the line is going against them. With Stanton's back. Okay, I thought Judge was coming back. Just Stanton.
Stanton and Urshela, I think he's back.
Yes, Urshela. Yeah, Urshela is back. That is correct. But that's where I'm at with the pitching. I do agree with you. I think the mid tier is kind of weak. They're going to be in the player pool, but not much. It's mostly going to be the guys up top for me and the guys down low. Because if I don't have to play two of the low guys, and I can afford to get a guy, because neither of the two low guys, like I still worry about ceiling with them, right? Like this kid for the Yankees, he looks really fucking good, and I like him a ton. But his coach is notorious for not letting guys pitch. Garrett Cole had to fucking stomp his feet just to let the guy throw him 100 pitches. You know what I mean? So, when it comes to ceiling, that's the reason I like those three guys up top, is because their ceiling is that much different than the rest of the field. So, with that said, I do like the cheap pitchers that you had mentioned. Talk to me about some bats.
So there's a couple spots I like. I do like the Mets against Philly. Let's get that out the way. The lefties in particular. We know the Phillies bullpen gets beat up by lefty bats as well. Like the park, all that good. I wouldn't mind the Phillies in the same way. I can always attack Rick Porcello. I'm sure you like the Phillies. I got some interest in the Yankees. Taijuan Walker, I just don't think he's legit. We got Stanton back there. We got Urshela back. Gary, the GOAT's in the lineup. I think we get to Walker and then just go to town on their bullpen. I mentioned, I could kind of go either way on the Royals. I think you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 power right-handers in the first 5 guys, and then it kind of falls off. I could see the strikeouts coming as well, so tad bit of interest there. I like the Rockies against Manaea. I like the Diamondbacks against Tehran, as you already kind of alluded to as well. And that's about it. It's going to be Rockies, Yankees, Rockies, Mets. And I like the two offenses, mostly Minnesota, but I could see that game going off. Like they're playing for something there, like who makes the playoffs. There's one game that separates them, or two maybe, or maybe they both make it, but seeding, because I think 8 teams are making the playoffs this year. But it's not like the games don't matter at all there. So I like those offenses. I think they're two of the better offenses in baseball, and we could see a back and forth game, especially if we get into the pens. Although I know the White Sox have been slightly improved this year as a bullpen. But that's it. That's where I'm at. You're muted.
And that's one of the hard things about this slate is narrowing down the bats. So it's one thing to find the pitching, and usually when pitching you're having a hard time liking guys. It's usually on a slate where you really like the bats, and that's the situation here. I'll start with Oakland, who I think is the optimal team. They're playing Senzatella. The only reason Senzatella's gotten by is his ground ball rate. Oakland is an extreme fly ball hitting team. They do that on purpose. They go and get even La Stella, a guy who they traded for, massive fly ball numbers. So that's now you're taking them. They play in one of the worst when they're home. They play in one of the worst hitting parks in the game. Now you're going to put them in the best hitting park in the game. So I'm excited about that, right? Fly ball hitters against this Senzatella dude, bad bullpen, gloriousness. Obviously, ownership's going to be a thing. I think on DraftKings, what's interesting is to see the Matt Olson, Jake Lamb decision. Jake Lamb's been terrible for like 2 years now. We know he's got power, but he's been terrible for like 2 years now. But he's 2,500 as opposed to Matt Olson is 5'3". So obviously, Matt Olson, I would envision he's the cash. To me, Matt Olson is the cash game first baseman. Like you find a way to fucking play that guy today. But I do think it's interesting for tournaments to still be able to get the pitching you want. So either way, I like Oakland. A lot of fly balls. The pivots, I think, from Oakland. New York Mets, like you said, right? Arrieta, a lot of sinkers. That's a pitch the Mets can hit. Doesn't strike guys out. Mets have the second or third highest WRC plus against righties this year in the league. They're getting a park boost out in Philly. Philly's bullpen has been butt cheeks. Literally what I wrote in my article. They've been butt cheeks. The Angels are my next pivot, and the reason I consider them I'm sorry, the Angels would be the next pivot for me. The reason they're the pivot to me, ownership perspective. Mad Bum's been terrible. Oakland, the Angels are projected for like 5.8 runs. One of the last games going the late night hammer action, just so I have something to sweat tonight. You know, when everything else is ending and everybody else that I talked about sucked. I have one more chance, my late game here. So I do like the Angels. They've been terrible against lefties, but we got Anthony Rendon, we got Mike Trout, we got guys we could work with. Justin Upton, who was finally starting to come to light before they decided to not play him for a few days. Against Mad Bum, who's been fucking terrible. And there's a reason Mad Bum's been bad. His velocity, which over his whole career is somewhere around 91, it's down to 88 right now. He's just struggling to be him. Diamondbacks bullpen, also butt cheeks. Then the Braves. The Braves were yesterday's chalk. They were chalky as hell yesterday on both sides. They were one of the only teams that were on both sides. And they sucked. They got destroyed by Baltimore. On a slate like today, where I think people kind of veer away just because there's more options, they're in just as good in a better matchup today against this Tom Eshelman dude in Baltimore. So I like the Braves as another pivot. Then we get into the value, right? If I want those two stud pitchers, how do I make it work? Start with the D-backs. That's number one. Julio Teheran, terrible against lefties his entire career. Nothing's new this year. He's terrible. This is the worst Julio Teheran we've ever seen. And he's going to play a shit ton of lefties, and they're all extremely cheap. Well, I shouldn't say all, but most of them are very cheap. Josh Rojas, 3,200. Pavin Smith is 2K, a little stolen base upside potentially with that guy. Christian Walker's a righty, but he's 3,200. Cole Calhoun, 34. Eduardo Escobar, 38. I think Escobar is the most expensive at 38. There, that's a quick way to say that. And then the other value team, is, I alluded to him a little bit, is the Rangers. And the Rangers have been god-awful, and I'm going to pit some Urquidy. But, again, I went into the day thinking like, I think Urquidy's got some progression coming in his numbers, and the public is going to see what he's done recently and ignore him. That wasn't the case when I checked ownership projections. It looks like people are already thinking that way, which is great. It's logical. But that makes me like him a little bit less. And Houston's bullpen is garbage, and this is a park boost for the Rangers. And needless to say, I was a little surprised when I looked at the lineup, and I was like, you know what? This actually is not terrible for the price. Leotis, do I got the right fucking site? That's how cheap these guys are. I got to double check I'm on the right site. That Leody Tavares guy, who's not good, is 2K. Willie Calhoun, who I think is good, is 2K. Joey Gallo's only 4.2. Odor's only 3,100. Guzman is 2,600. So they're just really cheap, and they're going to allow me to get some pitching. I can get some nice one-offs in a combination with all those free players they're giving me. So I don't feel great about the Rangers by any means, but at least I'm getting a couple of things. I'm low ownership, but really it's about that leverage against a pitcher that I think may end up being popular, and the ability to spend up and get those ceiling pitchers in the event that we get ceiling games. So a lot to choose from, and we left out a lot. We could have talked about Baltimore. We could have talked about, really, I think the most Paulie D thing on this slate is to take the bats in the Cleveland-Chicago Cubs game. I know your eyebrows went up when you saw some win there. I know Paulie D, one of the eyebrows just popped up. Two really good pitchers at high ownership. Nobody's going to play the bats because of how good the pitchers are. It's only 5-mile-an-hour winds, 5 to 10 miles an hour, but it's still winds blowing out in Wrigley. Depending on where you look. That to me, see, I thought for sure you were going to be on, we're going to be going that route.
What, taking the Indians against the guy? I thought about it, but
it's just tough because it's the Indians.
Yeah.
Now I will say this: the Indians did put out, like, I always liked when they had Lindor 1 and J-Ram 3. For whatever reason, they thought they were slick and they switched that shit up, and it hasn't worked since. I feel like it hasn't worked since. I like having the 1-3 like that Lindor J-Ram, but aside from that, I agree. Like, it was tempting. Frenville the GOAT's always tempting. But then I realized I think it's more, the pitching is actually more valuable to me if I can find a way to get as much of these guys as I can, because the rest of the field was so weak. So initially I came into this trying to like justify it. But when I looked at the pitching, I was like, I just can't. Because even if you do the double punt options, right? Even if you go double punt with those guys, none of these guys are really expensive. You got J-Ram and Lindor who are expensive, but you got plenty of guys like Carlos Santana's 3.3. It's like, you wouldn't, like, I just couldn't, I don't know. I couldn't get my head around the pitching. Like, needed it. But holla at your boy when you see me in the streets. Nation, if you have any questions, get them in there. If you have any questions, get them in there. And We are going to pick some home runs, do dirties, drop sevens, all the good stuff. Starting with you, Paulie, who's going deep?
Arnado.
Okay, I like that. Caught me off guard with the quickness. I'll go Michael Conforto.
Okay, I'll take Aaron Hicks.
Let's go with. Let's go with Cole Calhoun.
Word. And I'll take Tyler O'Neill.
I'm gonna take a cop out, but on this slate, it's not a cop out because I don't think he's gonna be popular. But I'll go with Mike Trout because I think he won't be popular because the people that do spend up are probably gonna try to get the A's. I would think. I'm just gonna float that out there for a little bit. He's always, what's funny is a guy like him who's the best player in baseball, right? He's like. You know who play him every day? It's the casual people who don't really do research and don't understand the game.
Yeah.
They just look at this and they're like, all right, every day I'm playing. I want the best player I can get. I'm just going to take Mike Trout because everywhere I look, he seems to be the best player. And, shout out to those guys because they always catch Mike Trout Day. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? Shout out to them. They got the right idea. All right, let's see if there's any questions in here now. Equity is cheap. Matt Smith says toss the Twins in there versus the White Sox. I'm sorry, CK, that's your fault. What's my fault? I don't know.
I like the Twins.
I don't know what was my fault. Matt. Everything is my fault. But anyway, our boy Jeff says I like Urquidy with the Rangers, high strikeout rate. He can pay off his price within 3 or 4 innings. Yes, absolutely. We got Junis 7th, like Sun. Matt Smith dropping 7s. I like it. Hashtag cash in DFS. I like it.
Hashtag cash in DFS.
I don't see any other questions. It looks like mostly comments of people dropping 7s in the chat and stating their case for what they like on the slate, which is always dope. So make sure that's the benefit of doing these streams. Like, I do encourage those of you who do watch the streams to pay attention to the chat, man, because you got a lot of people who are grinding this shit every day and they're going back and forth. It's one of the benefits, kind of like our Slack chat that we have, when it's rolling and you got people talking and exchanging ideas and all that kind of stuff. It really helps you think everything through. So I do recommend if you watch the shows, press whatever button it is that you got to see the chat and just pay attention, man. Participate with the nation who's in the chat trying to participate with you. You don't want to be that guy that gets on the progress report, doesn't play well with others. You don't want to be that guy, especially not now when we're in a freaking pandemic. Nobody wants to be that guy. And hit the like button. Bunch of assholes. How you guys? Look at all these people in here. 6 likes. That's just rude.
It's cold.
That's cold-blooded. Not the good kind either. I'm not talking about ice in the veins kind. That's dick in the butt kind. You know what I'm saying? Painful.
Dick in the butt.
You know what I mean? Painful. Aaron Lambert, 1, 2, 3, 4 for Cardinals and Mets with Carrasco on FanDuel. So do you like any of the Cardinals? He likes the 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, I do. I do like the Cardinals. Upon second look, offensively, I think they got a lot of power righties against Brett Anderson, who's a ground ball lefty, and you could see them hitting a couple ding dongs off him and getting to the early part of that bullpen, which ain't good, and things happening. They've broken a couple slates lately, St. Louis. So I don't mind it, but they're like in the middle of the pack, nowhere near the top.
Yeah,
probably
right.
3 men or less.
I agree. Like with all these offenses, I wasn't really looking there, but neither is anyone else. So you're going to have them at very low ownership. And like Paulie said, I'm good. They got a really good bullpen. Keep that in mind. But Anderson is terrible, right? So you definitely got that going for you. Get it early. Doesn't matter when you get it, as long as you get it. You know what I mean? Jeff says no Braves talk tonight. What about Acuna Jr.? Oh, I talked about the Braves. I had a whole little spiel about the Braves. I'm going to get my clip man on this. We got a clip man that's working with us. I'm going to get my clip man on this, Jeff. And I'm going to show you the clip where I talked about the Braves. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, I think the Braves are fine. And what I like about the Braves is they're yesterday's chalk. Yesterday's chalk, People move on. Fuck them. They screwed me. Hate them. And then today, when they're implied for 6.1 runs again, is when they do dirties. So I do like the Braves. 49er Don says I made it 7, so he must have hit the 7th like, which is that's just gloriousness right there.
That's good.
Glory.
Like
YouTube
that.
needs to be able to tell us who was ranked and what, so we can do like radio station contests. You know what I'm saying? Be like, all right, if you're the 7th like, you know what I mean? You get a CD. Oh, what kind of CD? CD's nuts or something. You didn't see that coming, did you? But yeah, it'd be cool if we had some kind of YouTube, because YouTube we see the likes go up, but we don't know who clicked them, or we don't know like at what order they were clicked. So YouTube, if you're listening, because I know YouTube is always trying to get down on DFS. I know YouTube always looking for the nation to drop 7s and do dirties when they're not banning us, of course. So YouTube, if you're listening, you heard me. Said it there.
I know. We were getting banned way before Tommy G was getting banned.
Yeah.
He thinks it's like, he's the only one.
We were getting banned before getting banned was cool, man. You know what I mean? Getting banned on a regular. You know what I'm saying?
On the rugs, son.
All day. But in all seriousness, appreciate those of you who did hit the like button. It really does help us out. It allows us to continue to do that dirty on that YouTube and that Twitch. But like Jeff says, smash the like button, people. It's real easy to do. It is. It's real easy to do. Paulie, anything in closing before we get up out of here? Because we got some teams to build.
Yeah, we do. So, no. I'll see you later. Up 7, do dirties all day.
For Paulie D, for myself, the entire White Take Nation. Don't forget to check later tonight. Myself, Patio Joe, NFL Week 2 first look, game by game. Be there. Notifications bell on. And good luck.
Free CDs.